time I tell you I'm gonna have to let you go down. Hey, baby, don't you want to go back to the same old place, sweet home Chicago. Let me tell you, baby, I ain't gonna tell you no again. Next time I tell you I'm going down in my deal, hey, baby, don't you want to go back to the same old place, sweet home Chicago.
Sweet Home in Chicago. Buddy Guy, one of the best blues artists to put Chicago on the map when it comes to the blues. There are many others. We'll talk about it in this hour. Chicago Bound, the great migration of the blues, showcases the works of musicians who laid the foundations of the Chicago blues sound as they traveled from the Mississippi Delta to neighborhoods on the south and west sides of Chicago. They often performed at Chicago's historic Maxwell Street Market, where they created the electrified urban blues sound that came to be known as the Chicago Blues. Many of those talented artists signed on with the city's acclaimed Chess Records label. You saw the movie about that. Leaving legacies that live on today. Chicago Bound chronicles that history with music and stories about legends like Muddy Waters, Memphis Minnie, Willie Dixon, Otis Rush, Coco Taylor, Lillian Green, and more. Lucy Smith and the Lucy Smith Quintet perform the music. Journalist and Chicago media personality Cheryl Corley writes the narratives for these stories, and I'm pleased to have both Lucy Smith and Cheryl Corley on our program today. We'll start with Lucy Smith. Lucy Smith, how are you today? Good to have you on this program.
Oh, I'm wonderful. Thank you so much for having us, Tavis.
It's my great honor to have you. I feel like this whole show today has been about Chicago. We just spent an hour talking about Donald Trump's appearance yesterday in Chicago. Oh yeah, I hear you. I hear you moaning already, Lucy.
No. That was just that was a neutral.
No, I got you. We, I don't know that anybody can be neutral about Donald Trump, but I take your point. Your point. We spent an hour just a moment ago talking about all of that drama in Chicago yesterday, and here we are now talking about Chicago Bound, the great migration of the blues. Just had a guest in our last hour who hosts the show on WVON in Chicago. So this whole show feels like a Chicago show today, and I'm okay with that. I'm headed to Chicago in a few weeks to cover the Democratic Convention. I'll be there live with my show all week in the city of Chicago starting Monday, August the 19th. Through the 22nd, we'll be broadcasting live from Chicago. I love Chicago, so I'm always looking for any excuse to come back to the city. That said, tell me for starters about Chicago Bound, the great migration of the blues. We got an hour to talk about it and play some good music as we move through this hour. But tell me about this project, Lucy Smith.
Well, its origins actually go all the way back to 2013. The Goodman Theater here was staging Cheryl West's Pullman Porter Blues. And the education director at the Goodman at the time, Willa Taylor, asked me to create kind of a complimentary. They had this series called Context, this complimentary concert to Pullman Porter Blues, and that's when I got this idea of really trying to pay homage to the folks who are responsible, for the reason that the blues sounds the way that it does today. And so I paired up with Cheryl going back to 2013, and so she, I'm the music director, and I cull all the songs together, and and work with all of my fellow musicians, and then Cheryl is tasked with weaving what we perform with an amazing narrative and the history of the people and the songs that that they're known for.
We've got an hour here to talk about the foundations of the Chicago blues sound. I look forward to the rest of this hour as we talk about Chicago Bound, the great migration of the blues with Lucy Smith and Cheryl Corley. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
Interrogating and unpacking. That's what we do around here. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
Make a move into a home of your own. With City National Bank's Ladder Up Home Loan Grant, you could receive up to $20,000 that you never need to pay back. Use it toward your down payment, save on closing costs, or to buy down your mortgage rate. Find out more at cnb.com/ladderuphome. City National, here for every stage of the journey. Property must be in a qualifying market in California, New York, or New Jersey. Additional terms and conditions apply. Not all applicants will qualify. Terms are subject to change without notice. City National Bank is an equal housing lender. Member FDIC. NMLS number 536994.
Oh no, stomach issues again?
Stomach issues?
Who are you?
Your pancreas. I could be the real reason for your diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose oily stools.
I thought it was my stomach.
People often do, but any of these symptoms could mean having a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and speak with your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
Did you know your life insurance is an asset you can sell? I'm Jay Jackson, CEO of Abacus Life. For almost 20 years, Abacus has been purchasing life insurance policies from seniors just like you. And at abacuspays.com, we've created a free policy value calculator so you can find out the worth of your policy in just seconds. There are no fees and no obligations. Get real value from your life insurance when you need it with Abacus. Learn more at abacuspays.com.
Always night pads are designed for a perfect night's sleep, so you can do your bear hugging a pillow thing, your free falling starfish thing, your burritoed in a blanket with the AC blasting thing. While Always night pads with rapid dry do there, we've got your back with fast absorbency and up to 10 hours of protection thing. So while your period's doing its own thing, Always lets you do your sleep thing. Shop for Always in-store or online, wherever you get your pads.
Eggs are a staple in our diets, and there's only one egg with more delicious farm-fresh taste plus superior nutrition. Eggland's Best. With more vitamins, including 6 times more vitamin D and 10 times more vitamin E, plus 25% less saturated fat than ordinary eggs. Available in so many delicious varieties. Classic, cage-free, and organic. Eggland's Best. Better taste, better nutrition, better eggs.
Let's get back to more of this rich dialogue with Tavis Smiley.
If you ever been mistreated, well, you know just what I'm talking about. If you ever been mistreated, you know just what I'm talking about. I worked 5 long years for one woman. Then she had the nerve to put me out.
You gotta love the blues. I worked 5 long years for this one woman, and she had the nerve to put me out. That's Eddie Boyd. Eddie Boyd. The track is called 5 Long Years. You're listening to Tavis Smiley. I'm so glad about that. We're talking in this hour about Chicago Bound, the great migration of the blues. It's a showcase that features the work of musicians who laid the foundations of the Chicago blues as we know them. As I said earlier, Lucy Smith and the Lucy Smith Quintet performed the music. Journalist and Chicago media personality Cheryl Corley wrote the narratives, and I'm pleased to have Cheryl Corley join us right now alongside Lucy Smith. Cheryl, how are you today? Good to have you on the program.
It's great. It's great. Thank you so much, Tavis. Great to be with you.
My great honor to hear your voice. Let me start with this. We got some time to work this out. Tell me more about the foundations of the Chicago blues. Actually, let me just start with this. Miles, my board op, I told him to make sure that we played some stuff that y'all wanted to hear. Y'all the experts here. So I said, Miles, have Cheryl and Lucy curate your playlist this hour. Whatever we play, have Cheryl and Lucy curate the hour. You chose 5 Long Years by Eddie Boyd. Before we get to the foundations of the Chicago blues sound, tell me why you chose that track, Cheryl Corley.
Well, I love that song. I love that song, 5 Long Years by Eddie Boyd. He just tells a story, right?
Yes, he does.
About this metal worker. He worked hard in this factory, gave his paycheck to his girlfriend who dumped him, you know. But Eddie Boyd, you know, he is kind of typical of the Great Migration, too, because we're talking about the musicians who came up from Mississippi Delta primarily to Chicago. And he was born in 1914 near Clarksdale, Mississippi, and he followed that Great Migration north to the factories of Chicago in 1941. So this story, you know, 5 Long Years about this metal worker, is kind of his story too. And you know, so Eddie Boyd, gotta love him.
Gotta love him, and that is an amazing track. So now, so tell me more then about the foundations of the Chicago blues sound as we have come to know it.
Well, you know, it morphed. It came from the Delta blues, you know, one of the earliest styles of blues music originating in the Mississippi Delta. And, you know, most folks know what we're talking about, but, you know, that area, northwest side of Mississippi, you got Memphis, Tennessee, Vicksburg, Mississippi, all of them. So originated kind of there, but that style was kind of rural blues, mostly kind of like guitar and harmonica. And so as people started moving up from Mississippi during the Great Migration, many moved to Chicago, and they became part of this more mainstream Chicago blues sound. And the music morphed. You know, there was this big open air market in Chicago where a lot of these musicians would play. It was called Maxwell Street. So a lot of folks would land there, and you know, they had their guitar, they're playing, they're singing, right? But Maxwell Street was like loaded with people, so you couldn't hear. So after a while, they learned that you had to plug in, right? You had to get that speaker. You had to have all kinds of different amplified versions of the blues so that people could actually hear what you were doing. So the blues started morphing in that way. More instrumentation was added. So, you know, and that became like the sound of the Chicago blues.
Yeah. You know, you're the expert here. You know this better than I. I'm just asking questions. But when you think about that Great Migration north by all kinds of black people, they didn't just go to Chicago. They went to Detroit. They went to Cleveland. They went to a lot of places in the Midwest and beyond. But a lot of that migration down south went straight to the Midwest. With regard to the blues, why do you think Chicago? I mean, we don't talk about. I mean, we got Motown, of course. We got Motown, a lot of great record labels. But you got Motown, you got Cleveland, you got all these other places, St. Louis, all these great places I can name. And all of these cities have great artists, of course, that found their way to these cities or were born in these cities. But when you talk about the Chicago blues sound, that's a uniquely different conversation. Why Chicago, if that question makes sense?
It does make sense. And I think a lot of it is because, well, a lot of it, you talked about Motown and the record label there. Chicago had like a mecca of record labels here at that time. And probably one of the most famous ones is Chess Records. Sure. And but there were other record labels too. And as musicians came up, and as those record companies and labels learned about these musicians coming up, that was one of the ways they wooed people here. So it wasn't just about factory jobs and getting people here to fill a void because other ethnic folks who had filled factory jobs and stuff were elsewhere because of wars and that kind of stuff. Well, so they weren't just wooing them here for that. Mm-hmm. They were wooing them here for the music and the performances that could help draw people into businesses and everything else. So those record labels really wanted to get musicians who were traveling out of the South to Chicago.
Before I talk to Lucy more about the music here in just a second, for those of us who've seen Cadillac Records, the movie, many people saw it, of course, Jeffrey Wright and Cedric the Entertainer, Beyonce, Gabrielle Union, amazing cast, and others, of course, in that movie, Cadillac Records. Speaking of Chess Records, for those of us who've seen that movie, how true to form was the story?
Now you got me there, Tavis.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got me because I didn't see Cadillac.
Oh, you didn't see? Okay, never mind.
Nope.
I made an assumption, which one should never do.
Nope.
One should never make the assumption. Okay, never mind that question. As they say in the court of law, strike that. Yeah, that's on me. I made an assumption that they'd seen that, and they haven't. A lot of people saw it, and so I thought maybe that you had seen it. So I will move past that. But the story in Cadillac Records is, of course, about Chess Records and Leonard Chess and all these great artists, Muddy Waters and beyond. As a matter of fact, Jeffrey Wright plays Muddy Waters, of course, in the film. And so I was just curious if you'd seen it, about how true it was to the actual story of how the Chicago blues sound was created. But I digress on that question, and we just act like I didn't ask that. All right, Lucy, here's the question I do want to ask, and that is, what it's like all these years interpreting this music that made the Chicago blues sound what it is.
Wait, I'm sorry, one more time?
What's it like all these years interpreting in your own way all of this music that came to be known as the Chicago blues sound?
Oh, it's a treat, actually. I mean, I grew up in a household where we predominantly, where my mother kind of, filled our house with the sounds of blues and gospel, and then soul, of course, but lots of blues and gospel. And I think I kind of begrudgingly listened because sometimes I couldn't even have access to that console stereo, that was over in the corner in our living room. But, so I grew up hearing, Lead Belly and Josh White and I think that I'm technically I'm a jazzer, but you really can't perform any kind of popular music without, to me, having a wonderful ear for blues and everything that is related to that. And so, and actually, I think I can pull that all the way back to gospel music, actually, because of the improvisation and the folkish simplicity. And so, anyway, that's a long way of answering, of saying that this music lives in me now, and it has, and it's been there. And so it's really every time I have an opportunity to vocalize this music, it's just pure joy.
Tell me more as an artist, Lucy. As an artist, tell me more. You got my interest here piqued. Tell me more about the linkages as you see them. Every artist would answer this question differently, I suspect. But as Lucy Smith sees it, tell me more about these linkages between gospel, jazz, and blues. Even as you are primarily a jazz artist, you're interpreting this blues music. But tell me more about those linkages for you, gospel, jazz, and blues.
Okay, so when we there's a part of this show that's very, very early on where I'm singing a cappella, and I sing I am a poor pilgrim of sorrow. I'm tossed in this wide world alone. And then after that, so that's a city called heaven, right? And then I sing some of John Henry, which was played by multiple artists. That there's a Josh White version, there's a Lead Belly version. John Henry was a little baby. So is that blues or folk or gospel? Which one is it?
I take your point.
And then we segue into Bill Brunzi's "Hey Hey." Well, no, actually, "Hey Hey" is before that, and that's that's just guitar, acoustic guitar, and voice. But I'm telling you, man, that tune stumps the most serious, the most hard-nosed jazzers that I know. It stumps them. It's extremely intricate, and it just makes us more humble.
Yeah.
More humble.
Yeah.
So that's, I and in all of my sets and all of the live music that I present most of the time is that I incorporate all genres of music because I'm a black woman.
Oh yeah.
And so I think that multi-genre music is music. It's just music. And so, yeah.
Yep. Quincy Jones, my dear friend Q, says all the time, Tavis, there ain't but two kinds of music, good and bad. So he shares your sentiment, Lucy Smith. Cheryl, I want to come back to you because I want to just throw some names out here. And have you just opine on some of these names because we don't have the Chicago blues without some of these artists. I mentioned these names earlier, but given that Lucy and her quintet performed the music in this Chicago-bound The Great Migration of the Blues showcase, you of course have written the narrative. So I ask you now to say a bit about Muddy Waters. I mentioned earlier, speaking of Cadillac Records. Oh, I didn't even ask that question, did I? I said though that Jeffrey Wright played Muddy Waters in that film, but just talk to me about the Chicago blues without Muddy Waters.
Well, without Muddy Waters, I don't know if there would be Chicago blues.
Exactly.
He's considered the father of Chicago blues. Muddy Waters is, and he really just came to the city and just really dominated the blues scene after World War II. So he was part of the second wave of the Great Migration. But and for many years, he lived at what we should call the real House of Blues, at a house here in Chicago. And they're trying to, make that a landmark now. But he wrote so many songs and he influenced so many people. I mean, his signature song was Rolling Stone. And it was a major hit. It was really his first single on what was then the newly renamed Chess Records. And Rolling Stone was a rendition of a song called Catfish Blues. And that was a traditional song that really dates back to the 1920s in Mississippi. But, like I said, if Muddy Waters wasn't around, I don't know what the Chicago blues would sound like because he was really the guy who kind of laid the tracks for all of that to happen.
I'm going to give you some Muddy Waters here in just about 10 seconds here as we continue this conversation. In case you've just tuned in, we're talking about Chicago Bound, The Great Migration of the Blues. It's a showcase that features the work of musicians who laid the foundations of the Chicago blues sound. Our guest in this hour are Lucy Smith. Lucy Smith and the Lucy Smith Quintet performed the music in this Chicago Bound piece. The journalist and Chicago media personality Cheryl Corley has written the narratives about these great artists, and I'm pleased to have them both on this program. When we come forward, we'll continue our conversation, but for your listening pleasure right now, here is some Muddy Waters.
I went to my baby's house and I sat down on her step. She said, come on in now, Muddy, you know my husband just now left. Showing up and just now left. Showing up and just now left. Oh, Lord. Oh, well. Oh, well. Well, my mother told my father just before I was born, I got a boy child's coming, gonna be, he gonna be a rolling stone. Sure enough, he's a rolling stone. Sure enough, he's a rolling stone. Oh, well, he's a, oh, well, he's a, oh, well, he's a.
Hope, agency, dignity. This is Tavis Smiley.
Can you dig it? Come on!
Paid for by government.com. Did you know? The United States Mint has issued a new Morgan silver dollar coin in proof condition for the first time. Not only that, they are also minted in 99.9% pure silver for the first time ever in history. Coin experts are calling this an amazing opportunity for anyone that knows the enduring popularity of Morgans. But you must hurry. Only 400,000 of these legal tender silver dollars were issued. These first ever Morgan silver dollars are brand new with stunning mirror-like finish, minted by the iconic San Francisco Mint. Call now and you're guaranteed a new first ever 99.9% pure silver proof Morgan dollar. To learn more, call 1-800-973-9717. If you order now, you will receive a free coin collector bonus pack, a $25 value, free with every order. Call 1-800-973-9717 now to secure your new Morgan silver dollars before they are gone. That's 1-800-973-9717.
I'm Mike Island, and here's the latest from your source for 24/7 News, the Black Information Network. The Federal Reserve is leaving interest rates unchanged. The Fed held its July meeting on Wednesday and said in a statement that a reduction in our policy rate could be on the table as soon as the next meeting in September. Vice President Kamala Harris says Americans deserve better after Donald Trump raised doubts about her racial identity in an interview with the National Association of Black Journalists. He said Harris was always of Indian heritage, then later became a black person. Host nation France has closed the gap in the medal count standings at the Paris Olympics. The U.S. added 4 more medals on Wednesday and continues to sit atop the leaderboard with 30 medals. That total includes 5 gold, 13 silver, and 12 bronze. France is now just 4 behind with 26 total medals. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Island on your home for 24/7 News, the Black Information Network.
Me and the kids were always messaging. They LOL'd, I ROFL'd, but then I changed phone and the bubbles went green. But where there's a fill, there's a way. And I found a way to share what's in here. I'm tapping my heart.
WhatsApp, the place to safely send messages between different devices. Message privately with everyone.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The U.S. men's Olympic basketball team had a dominant performance against South Sudan. They won by 17. 18 points off the bench for Bam Adebayo. LeBron had 12 points, 7 rebounds, and 5 of Team USA's 29 assists. The win moves Team USA into the quarterfinals on Saturday. They'll play Puerto Rico. The U.S. women's basketball team is back in action today. They take on Belgium, 11:15 a.m. tip-off on the USA Network. Dodgers fans are getting a little nervous after losing back-to-back games to San Diego. The Dodgers led the Padres by 9 games in the NL West in mid-July. That league has shrunk to 4.5. The Dodgers closed out July 11-13, their first losing month since April of 2018. The first NFL preseason game is today. The Chicago Bears and Houston Texans meet up in the Hall of Fame game in Canton, Ohio. Former USC star Caleb Williams, the Bears starting quarterback, will not be in the lineup. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
Hi, I'm Kyle at Blindster.com. I started Blindster in 2010 in my garage after I overpaid for new blinds. I researched the industry, hired my mom, and 14 years later, we're one of the largest retailers of custom blinds in the U.S. Don't pay too much for new blinds. Go to Blindster.com.
We've got a lot to talk about.
Are you interested in catching up on all the latest entertainment news? trending topics and exciting interviews? I got you. Tune in to The Rob Report with Robin Ayers, Monday through Friday, 6 to 7 p.m. I'm your host, Robin Ayers. Join me every weekday with some of the best entertainment contributors in the business as we break down what's going on, who's got next, and what not to miss. Only on The Rob Report with Robin Ayers.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
Texting enrolls you into reoccurring automated text messages. Consent not required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply.
Hey, Dan, how you doing? Haven't seen you around the gym for a while.
Yeah, I've really fallen off. Since I turned 40, I just don't get the results I used to get.
Could be lower testosterone.
Lower T.
Yeah, I went through it a while back. Once you hit 40, your body has less free testosterone. I got Nugenix Total T, and it's made a huge difference for me.
I've seen that ad on TV. Is it for real?
Oh, yeah. The key ingredient is something called Tesnor, which helps boost free and total testosterone levels to help you trim up and stay lean.
And it's made a difference for you?
Man, I feel like I'm in my 20s again. At work, in the gym, and in the bedroom.
Are they still giving out complimentary bottles for people to try it for themselves?
Yeah, you just need to send them a text.
Text LION to 42424 right now for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T, the #1 selling testosterone booster at GNC. Plus, text now and we'll include a bottle of Nugenix Thermo, our most powerful fat incinerator ever, to help you get back into shape fast. Absolutely free. Text LION to 42424. That's LION to 42424.
This is the story of the one. As a maintenance engineer, he hears things differently. To the untrained ear, everything on his shop floor might sound fine, but he can hear gears grinding or a belt slipping. So he steps in to fix the problem at hand before it gets out of hand. And he knows Grainger's got the right product he needs to get the job done, which is music to his ears. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Did you know that feeling sluggish or weighed down could be a sign that your digestive system isn't working at its best? Taking Metamucil every day can help. Metamucil fiber powders help promote your daily digestive health using a plant-based fiber called psyllium. The gelling action of this special fiber traps and removes waste, so you can feel lighter and more energetic. Metamucil, promoting digestive health for a better you. Learn more at metamucil.com. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Sounds different, huh? This is Tavis Smiley.
You had plenty money in 1922, but you let other women make a fool of you. Why don't you do right like some other men do? Get out of here and get me some money too. You sitting down wondering what it's all about. If you ain't got no money, they going to put you out. Why don't you do right?
It's called, as you can tell, Why Don't You Do Right? It's by Lil Green. Cheryl Cordy, tell me about Lil Green.
You know, Tavis, I just want to say, first of all, that when we do this show, I really like to pair Lil Green with Eddie Boyd in his 5 long years.
I'm sure you do. I'm sure you do.
You know, because he's talking about giving his money away, and she's talking about giving it to me.
Yeah, why don't you do right?
Yeah. Now, Lil Green, you know, she was a songwriter, and she was one of the leading theater and club singers of the 1940s.
Mm-hmm.
And this recording of hers, Why Don't You Do Right, she performed that with Big Bill Brunzi on guitar, and he was one of the pioneers in Chicago, and was really considered a guitar god. And Why Don't You Do Right really just had big success. And there's a backstory really to this song, because it was originally a song that was called Weed Smoker's Dream. Weed Smoker's Dream. And later, the man who wrote it rewrote it, the tune with Lil Green, and they renamed it. And this became just a big hit in 1941, although it became eclipsed by a bigger cover of the song when Peggy Lee and Benny Goodman covered it a year later.
Yeah.
But she was well known during her time in the 1940s.
Yeah. Tell me more, Cheryl, broadly about women in laying the foundation of Chicago blues. I want to talk about Coco Taylor in a minute here, and I'm sure she'll weave into your response. But we just were listening to Lil Green. Her real name is Lillian Green. That's her full name. They call her Lil Green.
Right.
But Lillian Green's her full name. But tell me more about, we'll talk about the brothers, and we already know that, Muddy Waters and Willie Dixon, and there's a long list. There's a long list of those. But tell me about women and in their role in creating the Chicago blues sound as we know it.
Well, Lil Green is one example, but we present another woman who was just very instrumental. And during this time period, men did kind of dominate the scene. But there were hundreds of songs written by another woman whose name went by the name of Memphis Minnie. And she was just this really premier blues artist in the 1930s and 40s. And as I mentioned, premier in a field that was dominated by men at the time. And Memphis Minnie was known for her singing and her songwriting, and she really had the superlative guitar playing style. But she was a woman who wrote hundreds of songs that were written, that were performed during that time. So both Lil Green and Memphis Minnie, kind of a core component of Chicago blues, and part of the Great Migration that brought so many African Americans from Mississippi and Memphis to Chicago.
Since you went there, I'm sorry. Finish your point. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No. And just were part of the group where the blues recording industry worked to attract those musicians.
Since you mentioned Memphis Minnie, we might as well give you a little Memphis Minnie. Here's a little Memphis Minnie for you.
But don't put that thing on me. Don't put that thing on me. Don't put that thing on me, 'cause I'm going back to Tennessee. Oh, do lady, you can turn water wine. I've been wondering where have you been all this time. I'm sitting here broke, and I ain't got a dime. You all could put something in these dukes of mine, but don't put that thing on me. Don't put that thing on me. Don't put that thing on me, 'cause I'm going back to Tennessee.
Cheryl Corley, I'm not exactly sure how to interpret that lyric, Cheryl Corley. Can you help me out?
No, there were a lot of double entendres and a lot of blues music. So
I think that's quadruple entendre.
Say that again, Lucy. Say that again, Lucy.
I think that's quadruple entendre.
Yeah, don't put that thing on me. But Cheryl, you were saying though that there were back in the day there were these songs that had multiple meanings. There are a number of ways to read it, correct?
Oh, absolutely. And when we're talking about women and double entendres, the queen of the blues, I didn't mention her, but of course that was Coco Taylor.
Oh yeah.
And she began, belting out tunes in Chicago blues clubs. Now she came to the city in the late 1950s, so she was part of that second wave of the migration. And she got a recording contract with Chess Records, and later with Alligator Records, another blues label that came a little bit later than the pioneering ones. And her popularity just continued to grow, and she just became this musical legend. And a lot of people know her for the song Voodoo Woman.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sort of thing. But she was definitely the queen of the blues who helped shape the Chicago sound.
We'll continue our conversation when we come forward with Cheryl Corley and Lucy Smith. How about some Coco Taylor, Miles Lowe?
I tell all you men, if your woman got enough, I got a rabbit foot in my pocket, a toad frog in my shoe, a crawfish on my shoulder, you looking dead at you. I got dust from a rattlesnake, I got a black spider bone. If that don't do it, baby, you better leave it all alone. They call me the voodoo woman, and I know the reason why.
Hope, agency, dignity. This is Tavis Smiley.
Can you dig it? Come on!
We asked seniors how to prevent Medicare scams.
My best advice, if you get a phone call, do not talk to the person. These people are well trained. Don't talk to them.
They don't know me. They're just trying to scam me.
Don't be fooled. Hang up.
Just hang up.
Never give out your Medicare number.
They're going to get your number to put in a false claim.
If I get a call from someone, I don't pick up the phone. And should I pick up the phone and they ask for information, then I hang up.
How do you detect Medicare fraud?
Just like I check my credit card statements, I check my Medicare statements monthly.
Scammers can get a hold of your number, order medical devices through your account, and you're not even going to know about it if you don't look at your statement.
Check your statement every month.
If you get your statement and you see something that you know you did not have done, you report it.
Call your senior Medicare Patrol.
To report Medicare fraud, call the Senior Medicare Patrol at 855-613-7080.
Tavis is like George and Wheezy. He's moving on up. Last year, Tavis was number 45 on the Talkers Magazine list of the 100 most important radio talk show hosts in America. Wait for it. Wait for it. The 2024 list was recently released, and Tavis has jumped to number 33 on the list of the nation's most important talkers, making him the highest-ranked African-American on the coveted roster. Congratulations to Tavis Smiley from all of us at KBLA Talk 1580. We've got you black.
Texting enrolls you into recurring automated text messages. Consent not required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply.
Hey, Dan, how you doing? Haven't seen you around the gym for a while.
Yeah, I've really fallen off. Since I turned 40, I just don't get the results I used to get.
Could be lower testosterone.
Lower T?
Yeah, I went through it a while back. Once you hit 40, your body has less free testosterone. I got Nugenix Total T, and it's made a huge difference for me.
I've seen that ad on TV. Is it for real?
Oh, yeah. The key ingredient is something called Tesnor, which helps boost free and total testosterone levels to help you trim up and stay lean.
And it's made a difference for you?
Man, I feel like I'm in my 20s again, at work, in the gym, and in the bedroom.
Are they still giving out complimentary bottles for people to try it for themselves?
Yeah, you just need to send them a text.
Text LION to 42424 right now for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T, the #1 selling testosterone booster at GNC. Plus, text now and we'll include a bottle of Nugenix Thermo, our most powerful fat incinerator ever, to help you get back into shape fast, absolutely free. Text LION to 42424. That's LION to 42424.
Ready to re-examine your assumptions and expand your inventory of ideas? More of Tavis Smiley coming your way right now.
Whoa, I can't quit you, baby. But I got to put you down a little while. Whoa, I can't quit you, darling, but I got to put you down a little while.
You gotta love the blues, right? You gotta love it. I can't quit you, baby, but I gotta put you down A little while. Talk to me, Cheryl, about Willie Dixon, and then I want to circle back to Lucy Smith.
Well, Willie Dixon, he comes right after us in the same kind of picture as Muddy Waters. Willie Dixon was a guy who also really shaped the Chicago sound, but he was so prolific, not just as a singer, a songwriter. He was a producer and just a all-around blues man that influenced so many people. You hear people talking, Rolling Stones folks will talk about him. Cassandra Wilson talks about him, and just the sound that that he crafted, and just really not only shaping sound but helping others bring that sound as well. Now, he came into Chicago in 1936, so he was part of that first wave of the migration. And he signed on with Chess Records, too.
Oh, yeah.
And I know I'm giving a lot of love to Chess Records, but but there were other ones. I'll get back to Willie. There was Paramount, there was Bluebird, there was VJ Records, Delmark Records, and then later on, as I mentioned, there was Alligator Records. But Willie Dixon's musical talent was just vast. He played the upright bass, he sang, and as I mentioned, he was just prolific, a songwriter, arranger, producer, a talent scout here and in Europe. So just really influential in shaping the sound of the Chicago blues.
Hard to imagine our lives without the sound of Chicago blues on the soundtrack. When we come forward in our remaining moments with Cheryl Corley and Lucy Smith, I'm going to let Lucy sound off on this. We've been talking in this hour, in case you've just tuned in, about Chicago Bound, the great migration of the blues, which brings the blues to Chicago parks this summer. I've been saying for weeks now, I can't wait to get to Chicago this summer for at least a week to cover the Democratic National Convention. But this is an amazing series of free performances as part of Night Out in the Parks in the city of Chicago. And we'll let Lucy Smith tell us more about that and about the show when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
Unapologetically progressive. Unapologetically black. You're tapped into Tavis Smiley.
If you're like me, 60 and retired, making ends meet, especially here at the supermarket and drugstore, is tough. I'm so blessed to have found benefitscheckup.org. It's a free and confidential website from the National Council on Aging that connected me to $1,200 a year in programs that help pay for food, medicine, utilities, and more. Maybe it can help you. benefitscheckup.org.
You know where you want to go in life, and City National Bank can help. City National knows the dedication it takes to build your vision for the future into a reality, and our team is here for you. We have a wide range of options to help, from personal savings accounts to interest-bearing money market savings accounts and more, all designed to help you get where you want to go. City National, here for every stage of the journey. Learn more at cnb.com. City National Bank is a subsidiary of Royal Bank of Canada. Member FDIC.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA reminds you that when we fight, we win, and we don't black down. LA Community Action Network, or LA CAN, was formed in 1999 when 25 residents of downtown LA came together and acknowledged the problems that existed in their community and made a commitment to do something about those problems, to stand together, organize, and become a force in the community that demands change. Civil rights and preventing the criminalization of poverty are their core projects. In addition, they take on women's rights, the human right to housing, and healthy food access. LA CAN also has projects focused on economic development, civic participation, voter engagement, and community media. While downtown LA remains their home base, with a particular emphasis on the Skid Row community, in 2007 they expanded their housing and healthy food access work into South Central Los Angeles. LA Can believes that power for low-income people and people of color is achieved through a large, active, and well-informed member base that utilizes a multitude of methods to advance their messages and goals. If you'd like to join the Los Angeles Community Action Network and organize people to fight back against oppression, please visit cangress.org. That's cangress.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
I can't believe tax season is here already. Look at all this info I have to enter.
Phil's small accounting firm is growing in numbers.
Why didn't I take that typing class in high school?
A data entry specialist could really help him in a crunch.
I got blisters on my fingers.
Indeed can help him hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. You can schedule and conduct virtual interviews all from your employer dashboard. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Who do you trust to get at the truth? Tavis Smiley. That's who. The conversation continues right now.
It does indeed. I got just about 3 or 4 minutes left here with Cheryl Corley and Lucy Smith talking about Chicago Bound, the great migration of the blues, and how the Chicago blues sound was actually created many, many decades ago. Spoiler alert, plug your ears if you don't want to hear it. Olympic update, spoiler alert, spoiler alert, spoiler alert.
Oh, no.
Olympic update, close your ears if you don't want to hear. Simone Biles has done it again. Simone Biles has done it again. She has just won the all-around Olympic gymnastics gold. You recall 3 years ago she exited the gymnastics team final with a mental block. But she came back strong 4 years later, came back strong 3 years later, and has won the all-around Olympic gold once again. So congratulations to Simone Biles. That's perfect timing for great news. Talking to 2 brilliant black women, Cheryl Corley and Lucy Smith. Here's another black woman making history. Simone Biles has won the all-around Olympic gymnastics gold. There you have it. You can unplug your ears now. Of course, if your ears are plugged, you don't hear me saying that anyway. But anyway, there's your Olympic spoiler alert. I've got 3 minutes left here. I want to come back to you, Lucy Smith. Tell me about Chicago Bound, the great migration of the blues, with regard to this night out in the parks this summer in Chicago.
Awesome. Yeah, so we did the first one in July in Bronzeville, where,
yes,
it's a wonderful home at Ellis Park. And our next stop is on the southwest side of Chicago in Morgan Park at the Morgan Park Roots Festival. And it's this Saturday afternoon at that festival at 3:45 in the afternoon at Ada Park, which and then we will have another show in September at a park on the north side of the city. Night Out in the Parks is just this wonderful arts extension of the Chicago Park District that gives folks an opportunity to see the best of the best just by leaving their house. They can grab a chair or a blanket and they can leave their house, go to their local park. They don't have to come downtown. They don't have to pay $1 zillion to park. Because Night Out in the Parks brings the best of the city to their communities. And particularly related to this show, we're going to communities where the music actually originated, So it's just another reason to feel good about being a Chicagoan and to remind folks, these multi-generational audiences that we get, that this greatness is of them and for them. And so that's the joy that I get of bringing this, and of course working with Cheryl to do it.
Yep. And Cheryl, finally here, what is the joy that you get out of being a part of these shows that are being played around the city of Chicago this summer?
Oh, it's just presenting information to people. I like to call it edutainment, Tavis, where people get to learn stuff about the musicians, and Lucy and her band just jam. So it's fun, and it's just a great entertainment for everybody. So we like to spread the word.
As I said earlier, I can't imagine our lives as black people, or for that matter, our lives as a nation, without the Chicago blues on the soundtrack. It's called Chicago Bound, the Great Migration of the Blues. It's a concert, a unique concert in the Park series, happening this summer in the city of Chicago. Many of us are headed that way for vacation or for work, for me, for work, but always enjoy my time in the Windy City. Once again, Chicago Bound, the Great Migration of the Blues. For those traveling to Chicago this summer, check it out. For those in Chicago, you already know about it, and I've been honored to have Cheryl Corley and Lucy Smith on this program to talk about Chicago Bound. Cheryl, thanks for your time. All the best to you, and congratulations on a great project.
Oh, thank you so much, Tavis. Thank you.
Lucy Smith, an honor to have you on this program. Congrats to you as well. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir.
Just like that, 3 hours gone. Back here tomorrow. Well, tomorrow's Friday, so tomorrow is the best of Tavis Smiley. So much good stuff to choose from this week. To feature on our best of program tomorrow, something you might have missed. We've had some amazing conversations this week. Thanks for tuning in. Tomorrow, again, the best of Tavis Smiley. Thanks for listening to us today. And as always, keep the faith.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Mike Island, and here's the latest from your source